What does this mean for Hong Kong? Could it be the end of the territory as feared?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Hong Kong has finished these national security laws, which criminalize talk of secession, treason, and the rest of it, plus all the surveillance and the secret police that come in and all the rest of it, finishes off the political freedoms that the people in Hong Kong have. And look, the smart money knows that the mainland was coming for this problem anyway. They've been watching it for over a year. President Xi was looking elsewhere, and now he has to show great strength. And keep in mind, he's the most authoritarian leader of China since Mao Zedong. So he's got to show why he's the boss. And look, these people, they got a deal from the British to go to 2047. One country, two systems. What's that mean? Well, it doesn't mean anything. It was the British swan song on the way out. And, they're living on borrowed time. It's now 2047, so the mainland Beijing has decided to come in now. So this is going to get ugly. And you imagine how bad the calculation must be in Beijing with the relations with the United States. They no longer care about trade negotiations. They don't care about their special relationship with President Trump. They're throwing it all aside, and under the cover of the COVID-19 pandemic, they're going to move, and they're going to send a very important message to Taiwan not to move further. Now, the thing that we should be doing, there's all this talk about sanctions and the rest of it, we should be thinking about whether we open our borders to Hong Kong refugees. Now, some Hong Kong rich people have gotten out to Malaysia and Singapore and probably Australia too. So there'll be an outflow, and Beijing won't be sorry to see these people go. But look, Hong Kong, in terms of political freedom, is dead man walking. They're finished, and they know they're finished. And we have no legal basis to stand on except the agreement signed with the British and the Chinese a number of years ago. And look, who's going to go to war over Hong Kong? Nobody. The United States, the EU, Britain, no one's going to go. But they're going to make life a little difficult. Now, there is a little problem here, and that is Hong Kong has had special status under this arrangement, that is special trade status with the United States, which allowed it to become a giant financial and commercial center. Now, that's going to be withdrawn because the one thing Congress can agree on, and that's the Republicans and the Democrats, is they have a bipartisan hatred for what's going on right now in Hong Kong. There's a lot of anti-Chinese sentiment, which is funneled through this support for Hong Kong. And so they're going to come down on them like a ton of bricks, and there's not much that President Trump can do about it because his veto power won't stand up against the large numbers in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. So we've got a very dangerous situation. Look, I've been saying for a year that this is coming because, the ducks are all lined up. I was just waiting for Beijing to decide to move forward on this. And here they are at the National Congress. And he says, the Premier says, this is a form of terrorism that we have to suppress.
And Professor, the timing of it also is quite curious. We're in the midst of a pandemic and China appears to be moving on Hong Kong right now. The timing is just extremely curious.
Well, it's not only curious, it's opportunistic. It's the perfect opportunity to move when half the world is facing down a pandemic and trying to deal with the economic fallout. It's the perfect cover for China. And, they have no economic forecast this year. They're going to go into negative growth. They figure, well, this is, the economy was going to be number one until COVID-19 came along, and now they're going to settle this up. Now, look, there's some scores to settle here too. Beijing has been looking the other way at the violence, and they've looked at the inability of the assembly to do anything about it. And now it's time to score points. Now, these guys don't play softball. And people say, what are they going to do next? Are they going to play a hardball? Well, we know from Tiananmen Square and how these things work. Look, if anyone knew how the Communist Party works, they know that it's ruthless, that the Constitution is designed to make it move forward and to protect it. This is about raw power, and the protesters in Hong Kong will be powerless. For the neighbors of Hong Kong, of course, this is the canary in the coal mine. When they see how the Chinese are going to deal with this, and then they see how the Chinese then move on to dealing with Taiwan and then with the South China Sea, people will sort of come into line. So this is where everybody takes the gloves off and they fight it out. And at the end of the day, the Chinese have every right to have the final say in Hong Kong. It's one country, two systems. Well, in a very short while, it's going to be one country and one system.
And Australia has joined a joint declaration as well, reinforcing the importance of Hong Kong's autonomy. Realistically, how far will this go?
Well, look, realistically, it's about exerting influence. Got a country here of 26 million up against a communist state of 1.4 billion. I mean, how far do you think that one's going to go? Look, the Chinese are going to just expect Australia to fall in line. Now, there's going to be a lot of complaints here in Australia, and there should be, because we should stand on principle. And so that's when we're going to see sort of a resurgence of this woof diplomacy. These are diplomats who have been unchained by custom and tradition, and they're going to tell Australians where to get on and off the bus, just like they did a couple weeks ago. This woof diplomacy is designed to be raw and crude. It's got all the finesse of the brown shirts in Germany in the 1930s. So it's going to get a little ugly. And so we're going to have to decide whether we treat these people seriously or not, because when they start yelling at you and threatening you with students and loans and tourism and all the rest of it, I think it's a bit of a bluff, actually. But it's going to get, diplomatically, it's going to get fairly ugly, and we're going to be seeing some very sad things on the news. Can we do much about it? Well, as I say, we can open our borders. But what would China say if Australia said, look, I'll take in a 500,000 Hong Kong refugees? Well, they might take a very dim view of that, because they're saying you're taking troublemakers. You're taking people who are potential terrorists. Anyway, I think the Beijing government has decided to roll the dice, and they don't really give a damn what anybody else thinks.
All right. Well, we'll be certainly watching the developments on this one very closely.